The boss isn't there yet. It's just a gaping hole in the ground, but hopefully he'll be there soon.
Oh, a gaping hole. Why would you name yourself that then? Oh, we're getting kicked out.
What's
Lost
the
is already
sound?
downstairs.
I think this is just a fight.
Oh,
What
we're
if
getting
we-
teleported out. We're getting forced
Oh.
out.
Okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, N'Zoth is back. As suspected, they did throw N'Zoth back up for testing, yet the mystery of N'Zoth remains. Exactly what is the intention with this fight is something that is up for discussion right now as to what Blizzard really is doing with it. I'll be honest with you, it feels like it's still a work in progress. I don't think they've kind of finalized exactly what is going to happen with this fight. They're kind of working through it, which means we might get to see it again as they get more and deeper into this. Now, that's all suspicion, of course, after discussions last night. I'm going to show you a relatively long pull of N'Zoth, but you're not really going to see much new. Not to tell you to turn the video off. It's definitely up for discussion. But only 1 or 2 guilds. I know Method managed to just about scrape into Phase 3. I think Limit did, and maybe somebody else. But this is like 8 minutes long, and this is only Phase 1 or 2. And you're going to notice N'Zoth is still at like 90% HP. Like, it's weird. We're not quite sure how you kill N'Zoth. We're not quite sure what's going to happen with it. The likely suspicion is that once we do get to see these Deathwing and Stormwind phases of the fight, which nobody got to as far as I'm aware, that we'll have a brain phase, similar to Yogg-Saron, where we managed to defeat some other part of N'Zoth, which is incredibly weak, and that's what's going to actually finish him off. Because as it stands right now, he's either completely invulnerable for much of the fight, or he's stunned for about 30 seconds where you get to do some damage, but he has so much HP, you barely even make a dent. So it's going to come down to similar to what Cthulhu did. Cthulhu had a weakened phase. Yogg-Saron had the brain phase as discussed. It's likely to be something along those lines. Now, that's a good thing. We're going into this with mystery. If Blizzard intends the rest of the fight to be mysterious until it goes live, fair enough. I hope they tune it correctly. That is the point of PTR testing and raid testing, is to figure out whether the fight is doable and any cheese tactics or stuff that Blizzard can't possibly account for that can only be seen and tested once they throw it out to the masses. That's the whole point of what we provide to Blizzard. And in return, we get to figure out what kind of classes are going to be good going into it and pass that message on to you. So it's a very give and take here of what PTR raid testing is. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I know some people are a little mixed on what they think PTR raid testing is. So here's the downside. So the good side is the mystery. We don't really know how the N'Zoth fight is going to work. We have an idea from the Dungeon Journal. We have an idea of what's supposed to happen. But right now the fight is so tightly tuned, and you might suspect that what I'm talking about here is only a couple of guilds managed to even reach Phase 3 of this fight, which is just which turned into a complete mess by all accounts. It was just a mess everywhere. That this fight is exceptionally hard. It's not. So here's the negative side. There isn't that much going on. And if I was to take it as read, if I wasn't really to consider the potential of this fight, my honest impression would be this is the weakest fight in Nyalotha right now. This is the most boring fight they have. Now, I'm not going to commit to that because I haven't seen a lot of the fight, and potentially it's going to turn into something really good. For all I know, Phase 1 and Phase 2 of this fight, which you're seeing in the background, is really overdone, and it's supposed to be like an introduction to the fight before the meat and vegetables actually comes to the table. This is just a warm-up to it. But it is a very, very long, and there ain't that much happening. What we do have, as you've seen before, if you haven't seen it, I'll kind of briefly go over it. We have this exceptionally large room, which is very, very annoying for classes with low mobility. DKs were complaining. And you have 2 realms. You have a normal realm and a mind realm. Now, in the Mind Realm, which is where you actually start the fight, as soon as you attack N'Zoth, he will send you to the Mind Realm, is we have this very large ad, this Psychosis ad, that we have to kill within a certain amount of time. That is offset by killing a tentacle near him. So this room is full of tentacles. If you kill a tentacle that's right next to him, he is debuffed, so he takes more damage. This debuff stacks up. So basically, this phase is moving Psychosis around from tentacle to tentacle in order to debuff him. All the tentacles heal up when one of them dies, so you can't just multi-dot them and AoE them down. That's not going to work. And every time one dies, it's going to create this pool of sludge on the floor. It's been made considerably larger since the last time we tested this, which does lead us to believe they're testing N'Zoth in sort of sections. Because it's such a large fight, they're really want you to just test Phase 1 and 2. So the HP of everything is huge compared to what it should be. So if you kill Psychosis in time, you have to run back to your body, click it again, which is nicely highlighted so you can find it. Now, this did have some bugs, so some corpses disappeared, so the people just got stuck in the mind realm, so we kind of worked around that. And then you will return to the normal realm. And that stuns everything in the fight for 30 seconds, including N'Zoth. So you can actually get some DPS done on N'Zoth. That's where you can actually put in some damage. Then some extra mechanics come in that are kind of meaningless, which it's almost like an intermission phase where N'Zoth will either pull you towards him or he'll push you away from him. And he's undamageable during this period of the fight. So you literally watch an arrow. You either go and stand near the boss or you stand away from the boss. It's that simple. Of course, this fight works on sanity. You can see the bar in the middle. And all the attacks, it's not a case of dying, like your HP running out. It's more a case of keeping your sanity bar up so you don't become mind controlled. Now, I will point out on Heroic still, Tremor Totem does break mind control. And it does seem to be that for normal and Heroic, they're going to make it so that if you do get mind controlled, Tremor Totem will break it. And Mythic, that won't be the case. So that's what we've seen from testing so far, is in any Mythic encounters that involve mind control, Tremor Totem does not work. On normal and Heroic, Tremor Totem does work. So that's something you might want to bear in mind as you go forward here, that Shamans might be quite popular in your raid. Now, once he's done this kind of push-pull, he's going to spawn, shockingly, more tentacles in the normal realm. Similar to Cthulhu here, we're going to have big, medium, small tentacles. Some need interrupting, some do melee damage that needs to be tanked, and you're just kind of going to run around this giant room, dotting and cleaving everything down. Now, I've seen some people say this is like a Shadow Priest, Moonkin, Warlock delight. Not really. There's so much moving going on. Yes, you're very effective, but melee is just as important. Lots of interrupts, lots of 2-target cleave and 3-target cleave. Melee are just fine here. I'm not seeing the overwhelming push to just bring range here, which I think some people have been saying. I've seen some messages like that from Twitter, and it's like, no, I'm not buying that. I think you're going to have a decent comp and a decent mix of classes here. Now, at some point during this tentacle killing spree, a mind gate will open, which sounds really fun. We're going through the mind gate. And what you want to do is split your raid in two. And because once you go into the mind gate and you deal with what's in there, you're debuffed so you cannot enter a mind gate again. So you need to split the raid in two here. But all you're going to do is go back into the mind realm and you're going to repeat what you did at the start of the fight, which is Psychosis is back again. And you have to kill him while killing tentacles and moving around the room, dragging him from tentacle to tentacle. So you just repeat this process. Now, it's considerably more difficult because you only have 50% of your raiders in order to defeat this thing. And this is kind of where most guilds got stuck. In order to do this, we not only had to practice a specific route. Luckily, the tentacles do spawn in set places, so we got to practice a route. And also using Bloodlust, using extra potions, finding out that things like the Cyclotronic Trinket were exceptionally powerful here once this Psychosis had say, 7 stacks of the damage debuff. It was doing crazy DPS to him. Mixing all those things in barely, and I mean barely, enabled us to actually finish off Psychosis in time. Using a perfect route, with Bloodlust, with extra potions, with trinkets that were overpowered. Only then were we really able to get past this. And then you come out of the Mind Realm, back into the normal realm, and do it again. Now this team has to stay up top and kill big tentacles and medium tentacles and little tentacles, and then another mind gate will open, so team 2, the other half of the raid, they're then going to go in and they have to kill Psychosis again. And if you manage to do that, which is kind of where we came to an end point, because getting both teams to do it absolutely perfectly within the hour of testing we were allotted was really difficult. Everybody had to practice the route. Everybody had to know the exact time to pop certain cooldowns in order to make sure that they overlapped just nicely in order to finish Psychosis off. It was a little bit of practice to do this. Then it would enter Phase 3, which I do not have any footage for, but Phase 3 was a lot more of the push-pull mechanics, pools to be soaked, all those kinds of things. And from the people I spoke to, they were just like, yeah, it was a mess. The mechanics were overlapping. And it does feel like Blizzard weren't really intending you to test this part of the fight yet. So that seems to be it. Now, as I said, this does feel like the weakest fight in Nyalotha, mainly because, one, this Phase 1, Phase 2 stuff is a long time, like 8 minutes. That's a long time for not that much to be happening. You're either killing tentacles in the normal realm or you're killing tentacles in the downstairs realm. And both realms look the same. They're kind of the same mobs. It's just whether you're in or out. That's about it. and rinse and repeat for like a long time. So I'm hoping they spice this up, or they make this either considerably shorter, so it's less of an intrusion, because obviously we're looking towards progress here, and if you're going to be progressing for like 8 minutes doing kind of the same stuff over and over again, it gets a little on the dull side. We really do not want N'Zoth to turn into a dull fight, because this has been a great raid so far, and if it ends up with the last boss being the bit of the dud, that would be kind of sad. So I'm really hoping that what we're looking at here is Blizzard just testing this fight in sections. Then they're going to work on finishing off the next part, and the next phase, suddenly phase 1 and 2 is done really quickly, and now we're dealing with phase 3, and then we're going to be dealing with these Stormwind and Deathwing. Alternatively, this could be the fight. We have to accept that as well. This could just be the fight, where we're either killing tentacles upstairs or we're killing tentacles downstairs, and then we've got some soaking and stuff to do later on. And if that's the case, I'd be particularly disappointed. But we do know there's more coming. We do know. There is definitely more coming. Let's hope that brings some spice and flavor to this fight. Let me know what you guys think based on what you've seen so far. I will keep you updated. I am almost positive N'Zoth will be back up again to show us more of the fight, and maybe my little theory will come to fruition. We'll see that there. We did test some more mythic bosses as well. All good. We did find the weakest. Again, a brief talk here. I know not many of you are mythic raiders, or it's certainly a smaller percentage of you. The mythic fight had one slightly disappointing fight, which was the Hive Mind. The Hive Mind on mythic adds a lot of AoE. You can see the lag this thing caused, and feedback on the forums will obviously point out this was everybody. It's just poorly optimized for now. But this turned out to be a bit of a dud. They've fallen into the trap with the Hive Mind of having so many. If you have a bazillion mechanics, which is kind of what this has, none of them can really be lethal. If you're going to have bazillions of mechanics that happen all at the same time, individually, none of them can be lethal, and that generally means that we left it to kind of a free-for-all, and we killed this within the hour. We're like, this fight is boring. It's boring. You're just AoEing for like a few minutes, and then the boss dies. So that's kind of a shame on that one. But for everything else, including Skitra, really good. Skitra is shaping up to be a really fun Mecha-Talk style fight, very heavily on communication. The twist on this in Mythic is you get assigned a color. You're either going to be the red-orange color or the purpley-white color, and only the people with a certain color can see enemies and dangers that do affect everybody, but only half the raid can see them. Which means you're going to have this phalanx walking across the road, and maybe only the red people can see the phalanx, but it will still kill the purple players. So you need a lot of communication to say there's a phalanx coming, even though you can't see it, it is there. Wait a second, because there's a lot of movement to be done in this fight as well. Once again, it does kind of suffer from the same problem it had when we first tested this on Heroic, is the intermission phase where you have to find the large ad in the room that only one of them is visible by both teams. We found a very nice system of seeing that. Happens every 20%, and this boss has all the health in the world. And you're basically going to be repeating this process, which... it's once you've got the communication down, similar to imagine Mecha-Talk, but make it 3 times longer. That's kind of the process we're looking at here with this fight. So hopefully they tidy that up. Again, it might just be for testing purposes. They often do boost the HP of things for testing purposes to make sure they're getting a good quality test out of us. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I will keep you updated as I know more. Tomorrow we've got a big video on all the little minor class changes and gameplay changes that are happening in 8.3, of which I think you'll be very, very happy with. So watch out for that on Sunday. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Bye-bye.